I just have a thought experiment that I was going over in my mind about, is the devil real, and what is the devil to me, and how I express what the devil is, and how I can prove that the devil is real. Here's my thought experiment about this notion and this concept of the devil. Imagine a situation. This is not breakthrough stuff. I'm sure it's been talked about a lot. I just need to talk about it as it relates to me, and as it relates to my history, and as it relates to um, just certain bad decisions I've made for whatever reason. And again, it's not breakthrough ideas, but just a quick thing, maybe for a mental note, and just for a, what do you call it, it's a placeholder, a bookmark in my life, and awareness of. I'll get to the fucking point. Imagine a person who is more or less, no pun intended, more or less moraled and good. Moralist, not moralist. More or less moraled. And a good person, and they do the right thing, and they have a deep empathy for people and care about people, uh, and they're very conscious of their behaviors and the way they interact with other people. Okay? That same person is tempted, let's say, by a woman, and let's say multiple women, let's say feel good chemicals such as drugs, dopaminergic chemicals to bring up the reward centers with sexuality. And I think that with enough pleasure, one can cross over to, obviously, it's becomes hedonism, it becomes pleasure seeking. I think not the act, not the person, not the act, not the person, but the crossover of emotions. And it doesn't matter if shame is involved. It doesn't matter if realization is involved. I think it's the that moment, that time at which a person is consumed and has changed their, not even changed their moral compass, and starting acting in a way that is like psychopathic or narcissistic, or very like treating people as transactional. Um, it's not even that. It's the very medium at which that change takes place is, to me, like that is Satan. Like that is the devil. That is dark energy. You can call it whatever you want. I don't. I think that is something that needs to be talked about more, and it's. I don't know how it could be otherwise. You reach a point at which, yeah, yeah, I think it's an idea. It's just a concept. I don't know how you can't even describe it any other way. It's not being a bad person. It's not doing bad things. It's when you have actually, like, for what made me think of this is like the idea of, like, I think I heard Jordan Peterson talk about, like, if you are having whatever, you're living a hedonistic lifestyle, you're doing crazy stuff, you're a man, let's say, and you're indulging in these things. It doesn't matter if you are not a sociopath doing those things. The very act of such things are sociopathic like, and that those actions are, you can become. That's why there's a difference between sociopath and psychopath, right? A sociopath is made, so you can make yourself, you can go down a path and become that. And I don't think there's a limit on when it happens. I think like most things, the earlier you adopt these patterns of behavior, the harder, the more ingrained they are into your psyche. And I think as you age, hopefully you can, you know, survive a close call into losing one's own soul into psychopathy. sociopathy rather. And I feel for anyone that went down that path too early, because I don't know how you can get out the other side. And I just hope that person does as little damage as possible. I hope they are called out for who they are, and that's very sad that those people exist, and I've seen it. And yeah, I just wanted to make this quick video about the idea of the devil, the idea of actual darkness, dark energy, like inherently dark energy. Like, it is a real thing. It's not subjective, it's real. Pleasure as a temptation. It's so, I think it's so cliche, or I did, as I'm aging, and I fucking common sense, but I have to make this point, just for myself and for the future. I don't know. Maybe it's helpful to somebody too. But yeah, that's what I believe. Is it's energy. You know, everything's just energy, and sociopathy as a concept, I think you can make people more and more like that. There is a yeah, and again, it's I think it's where most of my shame has come from over the last year, is understanding who I became. And although I don't believe I've ever been a sociopath, I think it's a slippery slope of actions resulting in results that manifest into, well, I mean, at a certain point, what is the difference? I guess the only difference would be whether or not you have awareness of what is happening, or eventual awareness. The capacity for eventual awareness, I guess, is the only differentiating factor in somebody who is, that's a little bit too much of a generalization, but I'm just thinking out loud about, and maybe it doesn't have as much to do with age as it does, like, and that's what I would, and then on the other hand, that's, to me, is God, is whatever that trigger, that awareness, as a concept, the devil or dark energy, as that in between state of change in one's psyche, from moral and good to dark, selfish, using people as means to an end. All these things in our society that now have been a lot more acceptable. God is the idea of change. Just the idea. Just the notion of awareness and healing and good. That's God. These things are like fluid. They're the in-between states of consciousness where you have a choice, and the ability to see the choice is God. Because the devil is the trickster, is the inability to see. At its worst, that's what the devil is. That's what dark energy is you cannot see the forest through the trees. You are in a living hell, and not being able to redeem or grow or learn. I think that's hell, right? As just an idea. It's on this plane. It's happening everywhere, all the time. And I don't know. I just think that's the way I look at it. I don't know. And I think it's a hopeful thing. I think it's God. I think it's, no pun intended, God. Yeah, to the extent that we are here to, so the universe can experience itself, and consciousness is the least understood concept we know about. I mean, one of the least understood things. I mean, how do you explain consciousness? And if consciousness is this thing, and it's separate from any laws or man-made thing, it's it we go back and forth between, or we don't go back and forth necessarily, but I think there's got to be words in between the devil and God, and in between good and bad. What are some in between words? It's not a lot to come up off the top of my head. Maybe I just need to do more learning. But the reason I bring that up is that I think it's helpful to, like, I don't care about religion. I don't care about any of this crap. If you just look at energy and you look at consciousness and you look at you look at pain and pleasure as concepts, you look at, again, it can be helpful to look at psychological, conditions to further express some of these notions, like psychopathy, sociopathy. As I find it is a lot more interesting diagnoses. You look at psychopathy, it's kind of like looking at something like ADHD. It's kind of you are that. Sociopathy, aka being a sociopath, is like, to me, the highest side, the farthest side of a having a antisocial personality, and the highest side of, again, change, and how beautiful it is that somebody can be capable of some of the worst things possible, and if they can see that, how beautiful is that, to change. And I think God is the best word to use, like good energy. I mean, what is the word? God is such a triggering word. The devil is such a triggering word. But as like dark energy, let's call it light and dark, right? Light energy. It's so beautiful that you can be so bad and you can have such a distorted view of reality and yourself, and that's like the hero's journey. That's like the greatest journey there is, right? Like, that's beautiful. I don't know. This is gonna say, I don't even know. This is I'm gonna end the video here, but I've done too much research into this to not express certain ideas I have, and just that I think to the extent that thinking is where all of man's problems originate, it would be a disservice to man to not say that those very thoughts can be used, can be used for good in a way that is there's no limit. There's no limit to your thoughts and what they can do. So it works both ways. In other words, it's responsible for all of our problems, but yet you can think your way out of anything. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Have a good day.